Welcome, Mick to the Bishop Stortford Blues Club. Is this a regular venue of yours?
I've done it a few times, yeah. Great gig. Really
going back through the years, or quite
over the last 2 years or 2 or 3 years, but it's become a firm favourite with me because the vibes are nice, the audience are nice, you know.
Right. And I understand that in the last year or so you had your 60th birthday bash.
Yes, sir. I was
Tell us
that
all
soldier.
about that.
Well, my wife pulled a sneaky on me.
Right.
Bless her. Thank you, Kate. I love you to bits. All my friends turned up at a pub where I thought I was going for a drink on my way to somewhere where my wife was taking me, and I walked into a crowd of about 100 musos from my past, which was great fun. We had some really good. We just had a great time.
Where was that?
It was over at a place called the Lamb in Stoke Goldington, which is just outside Northampton.
Right.
I was told that I was being taken to a show. And I said, well, yeah, do I get to eat? Because I'm hungry, babe. And she said, yeah, well, yeah, we'll see, you know, as you do. And I walked into the room and, you know, they said, well, let's go and have a quick drink in here. I said, okay, that's cool, yeah. I'm thinking, where am I going now, you know? So next thing is I walk into all these rascals and reprobates that I've become friends with, and I've walked in. I remember walking in and I just turned around and I said, I don't know what you're doing here because I don't like any of you. But no, surprised you. I'd not long been out of hospital. I'd only been out of hospital for about 2 weeks, so it was my first treat night out. You know.
I see, right. And what was it? A jamming night or?
Everything, yeah. I mean, everybody brought their instruments. There was a PA set up, and somebody snuck into my house and got me guitar and my effects box and all the other boxing tricks, and said, oh, by the way, we brought that for you just in case. I went, oh yeah, I see. So we ended up having a jam. Everything, like,
and any names from those?
Yeah, Jimmy Rodford was there, Stevie Rodford, Nicky Payne, Elliot Randall.
Right.
Yeah, we had a real good laugh.
And you say you're just 2 weeks out of hospital, Mick, and the doctor there, I gather there's, in addition to your blues legend status, you're also legendary now because you're the first person he ever came across who had a gallbladder shaped in the shape of a guitar. Is that right?
Absolutely correct. I mean, how could that possibly be? I think I should go Guinness Book of Records. Take note. Seriously, I mean, the Guinness Book of Records has got to be a guitar player with a guitar-shaped gallbladder, and the surgeon who performed the operation said to me, "It's a very strange thing, Mr. Abrahams. Very strange thing." He said, we noticed when we took your gallbladder out that it was shaped exactly like a guitar. Now, I've been doing this operation for 25 years or more, and I've seen some funny shapes, mind. He said, but I've never seen one shaped like that. I'm off under the anaesthetic, still recovering. I went, are you pulling my head around? And the guy said, no, I'm absolutely serious.
He didn't bring it out in a jar, or did he?
No, I wished he had done, because I could have had it in formaldehyde and took it to gigs with me and say, this, you know, proves I was stoned permanently. Excuse me.
And you were ill for a long while before then?
I've had about a couple of years of it, yeah. I had my hand operated on, and I had this nasty disease called carpal tunnel, which kind of messes your hand up a bit, which is not a very good guitar player's condition.
Right.
I just recovered from that, and then I started collapsing and with all sorts of pains, and people thought I was playing as usual, you know, but I wasn't. And it got worse and worse, and I kept on getting taken into the emergency room and pumped full of drugs and God knows what else.
So this is all around starting the millennium, yeah?
Yeah.
The last 3 years have been quite tough.
Yeah, it's not been good.
Yeah.
It's been a laugh though, you know, it's been something to write stuff about and make fun of. I can now say the words laparoscopic cholecystectomy. Now you can't say that, can you? A blues guitar player saying that? Come on, please.
But all is well now, yeah, you're on the road to recovery.
Thank God, yes. Yeah.
And the good thing was that your latest album, Can't Stop, there are songs there that refer back to their experience. Yeah?
Yes, there's.
Do you want to tell us about some?
Yeah, sure. There's one that stands out particularly is a song called GBA NHS Blues, because in the melee after having the first operation, something had gone wrong, something had got twisted and whatever. I didn't go into it, but something had gone wrong, and they took me back into the some death ward in the NHS hospital in our fair county of Buckinghamshire, and the people there were wonderful. but the system is so scary. The system itself, you know.
Right.
And I'm not getting political or anything, but it's a mess.
Right.
It's a real mess. And for about a week, I was kind of bashed from pillar to post. And yes, tomorrow you're going to have this operation. Tomorrow you're going to go. And I'm thinking, well, you know, do I need all this? And I thought there was a great line to nearly every blues song that I've ever heard, which says something to the effect of, I woke up this morning, I got the blues all around my head. Well, every morning I woke up, there was this bloody great big set of plastic curtains. So the first line of the song is, I woke up this morning, I got curtains all around my head. And I thought, yeah, that's fair enough, that's got to be the GBHNS blues. So that was what happened, you know.
Was it ever sort of scary in terms of life-threatening?
Yeah, I didn't think it was coming out. And
so you were actually in that heavy ward where other people were sort of...
Well, there was some, there was a lot of coughing,
overnight.
hacking and all that sort of stuff going on, you know, and people were doing the best they could under the circumstances. I was probably the lesser of anybody in there as far as in terms of life-threatening, but it's nonetheless scary, you know.
And how long did you spend in there?
I was in that particular time, I was in for a week.
Wow.
And then on top of that, they gave me this wonderful GB and NHS thing called an infection. And then I had to go back and get that sorted out, so it was rather pleasant.
You got an infection while...
Thank you very much, Miss Blair, thank you. Sorry, outtake.
You weren't going to get political, you said.
Eat your fucking heart out, Dennis Norden.
So whenabouts was that, Mick?
This was all during this year. Started from March onwards. I'd been ill for about 6 months prior to that, you know.
Right.
So.
And talking about the new album, when did you start making that? When did the project come together?
That album started roughly 18 months ago. Within the last year, about I think 9 months of it were done completely on tranquilizers and opiates and heavy painkillers, you know. So yeah, I could actually go into the studio from, I'd feel okay for a short while. I think, oh, sod it, you know, I'll just go and do a bit of work. Unfortunately, the painkillers kicked in and it worked, so it was all right. So not that I'd advise anybody to do an album on any particular type of drugs, do it on your own back, but in this particular instance, I was helped along slightly.
Tonight
it's a drug album, children. It's not.
And tonight, you're taking the stage with your two bandmates, long-standing bandmates.
Graham and Guinness, yeah.
And they're involved on the album, of course?
They are on all the tracks, yeah.
When did this trio come together?
We've had this particular lineup going for about just 3 years now.
Right.
Graham's been around with me for, I guess, for about the last 15 years. He's done Blodwyn Pig and the MA Band and the acoustic gigs, and we've done other projects together as well.
So he goes back to the Mick around time?
He goes back to about, I think, 1987, 88,
right.
as long back as that.
Right. When did you actually make your grand comeback in the 80s?
In the 80s, around about in 1988.
Right.
Yeah, right. I was actually I was doing a daytime job, which all good musicians should be doing now, I can tell you. And I kind of got fed up with the daytime job, as you do, you know, because it was boring and soulless. So I quit that and just said, that's it. I'll just do what I've never stopped playing. I've always kind of played, you know. So.
But when you left, with jumping all over the place now, if we go back to the mid-70s, when you left the business for the first time, you've been a pro musician for 10 years at least, haven't you? Yeah, mid-70s, going back to the mid-60s.
Yeah.
What was it that did you sort of decide, you know, because of all the various record company hassles, did you just one morning wake up and say, I don't want this anymore?
I literally did. I woke up one morning and said, you know, bluntly, I said, fuck this, I've had enough, you know, I'm really fed up with the whole deal. Not to blame anybody, not to blame myself, or, you know, the situation just didn't wear well with my head. I couldn't get my head around it at all. And I thought, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll put my guitar up in the loft for a year and I'll take a sabbatical.
Literally not touch it?
Literally. And I went out and I bought a Ford Prefect, put a roof rack on it, got some ladders and some scrim and a bucket and went out cleaning windows. And I thought, because it was so, I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but it actually was therapeutical, because it just got my head into a level realm, because it wasn't in you know, I wasn't going mad or nothing like that, you know, but it just...
But the majority of the hassle that you were taking was business related,
Yeah.
was it? It was all to
Absolutely.
do with the business
Yeah,
of
yeah,
music.
yeah.
And record companies letting
Yeah.
you down and
Yeah.
Right.
Not that
After-
all record companies do. I mean, it's not to say that all record companies treat people like that, but in my particular case, and other cases, it just didn't work well. So, but the sabbatical, I would hasten to say, lasted 3 months. I soon got the ladder out and used it to get in the loft and get the guitar out again. So, and then I started playing semi-professionally. And at that point in time, I did everything from being a swimming pool manager to a fitness instructor. I went back to playing judo, which I hadn't played for a long time.
Did you not think of sort of doing because you've got videos out now and you had an LP out on how to play guitar, etc. Did the guitar teacher route not sort of...
There's a lot of people out there that really can't play guitar now because of that. I hope you know that. I've got to tell a funny story about that album particularly. Because it was an LP, 33 and a third RPM, we did this kind of tuning section. Not thinking, of course, that certain turntables would vary in speed. So some guys were actually about half a tone out when they tuned up. So for which I have made many apologies over the years.
Right. But the guitar teacher route didn't sort of appeal to you, you know?
No, I'm hopeless. I'm hopeless at bloody teaching. I'm useless. There was certain special guys and girls that I've met who I know have actually really got the balls and the fire to play the instrument. Yeah, I've got the patience and I've got the time to impart whatever little knowledge I've got to give. Right. I'm happy to do that. But I'm not one of these guys that can sit down and say, right, there you go, because I don't read music quickly. Right. I know what it is and I can read it, but I prefer the feel of a guitar rather than just to sit and read it straight off the notes. And a lot of people want to learn that way, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that. I'm pleased that they do that because it turns out a lot of good musicians. Right. But me personally, I just can't get my head in it. So I try to avoid that, you know. Yeah. And I don't want to ever be sat there thinking, oh yeah, well I'm doing this for, I don't know, whatever it is, 15 quid an hour, and I'm bored out of my mind. No, because it'll come over to the person I'm trying to teach, and I wouldn't want that for them either. It might discourage them as opposed to encouraging. Yeah.
And hopping back another 15 years from the LP with the wonky tuning, when you started, how did you start?
By using a tennis racket in front of a mirror.
As we do.
As you do.
And to the shadows, or
yeah. I mean, this is really freaky actually, because I'm now very friendly with Bruce Welch, who was one of my heroes, of course, during the old days, and he and I have played together on a couple of occasions, which was wonderful. So, yeah, I mean the Shads were the band, and to have actually met Hank Marvin at a music show, and for him to come up and say to me, "Hey, you're Mick Abrams," I went, "What?" I was just freaked out completely. Right. I mean, because everybody loved the Shads. I mean, they were the electric band, you know. Yeah. And to my mind, you know, they're still one of the most musical electric guitar bands ever, you know. Right. It's great. It's timeless music, you know.
So, Mick Abrams' first thought, you know, when he was playing the tennis racket was, I want to be Hank Marvin?
No, that wasn't actually. I wanted to be Elvis at the time, and clearly my looks sort of wouldn't have got me there, so... And they weren't offering a 10% discount on beauty products at that particular time, so I tried to avoid that. But I used to do kind of the Elvis bum wiggle and all that crap, you know. Yeah. And the thing that really got me most was Cliff Richard's and the Shadows' little riff that you don't like rockin' music, you don't like rockin' bands, but the riff was so simple. You go and it's just like one note, hammer on, hammer off, hammer on, hammer off. And I thought, hey, this is good. I can do this. This job I can do. And it kind of went from there. Mum and Dad bought me a guitar. I was about 10. Mum and Dad bought me a beat up old guitar for about £7.5 quid, which was like quite a lot of dough in those days. Right. And I persevered. And
what was the guitar you had?
Piece of shito from Italy or something, I don't know, piece of wood, whatever.
Yeah. Acoustic?
Acoustic, just a Spanish acoustic
What was your first
guitar.
electric that you remember?
First electric was a Hoyer, an Arnold Hoyer, with a Diamond pickup on it, played through the back of an El Pico amplifier.
Right.
Well, first of all, we used to like juggle those little kind of phono leads in the old-fashioned one. You stick it in the back of the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Used to try and blow the speaker out the radio, and
Right.
I was banned from using that for a while.
Right.
For all the proper reasons.
Right.
And then we found this thing called an El Pico amp, and found it actually worked by putting it through the front, which was quite cool. And then I graduated, I think, I can't remember, what did I do? I had a Burns, Trisonic,
Mm-hmm.
and then finally a Fender Stratocaster, an original Fender Strat, so I could be like Bruce.
Right.
And
But the SG, the Gibson SG was the one.
Oh, that
you were
didn't come
also
till I was 21.
That was a block.
That was my 21st birthday present. I was asked, do I want a party or do I want a guitar? I said, you know, is the Pope Catholic, you know? So,
And basically, what was at what point, like, do you remember hearing something and saying, what's that music, I don't know it, and someone telling you that's blues? Did you have one of those moments, you know, where
I guess listening to early Elvis, you would have had that influence seep
Scotty
in.
Moore.
My first real record that I picked up on was Cool Water by Frankie Lane. That was the first actual record that we ever bought when we had the old wind-up phonogram.
Mhm.
And that was on Decca Records with the blue label in the middle.
Right.
And it was, Frankie Lane singing Cool Water. And I thought, that's something in that, you know. And I took it. Then he came out with Singing the Blues. He did that one, didn't he? And then I graduated. Then I heard Elvis, and I thought, this is the real bit of what I've just been hearing, you know. And then of course Scotty Moore, as you say, and all that nice kind of rockabilly. But it had that again, the blues overtone. Next thing I heard Little Richard and was completely blown away. Non-guitar band, admittedly, but the voice and the vibe of the music just really took me away.
Yeah.
Natural progression, then I would have thought Chuck Berry, because Chuck Berry was different kind of vocalist to Little Richard, but same kind of deal, you know. It was pokey, it was thumpy. Jerry Lee, of
Were you
course.
into skiffle?
Yeah, I mean, that was the first band I was ever in, the skiffle band.
Right.
We used to practice down the shed at the bottom of the garden with a T-chest bass, washboard, and I'd play the guitar.
Right.
And my very first gig was at the local Royal Buffaloes Society hall, where my uncle was a member, and I got 1 and 6pence old money and 2 pints of orange juice for repeating 3 songs. Don't You Rock Me Daddy-O, Oh Mary Don't You Weep, Don't You Moan. No, it was 2 songs, that's right. I played that one in a different key. But that was it. And I played that about 4 or 5 times and got given 1 and 6pence, 2 pints of orange, and told to piss off. But very nicely.
And heading now forward a bit, that's the 50s, the skiffle era, late 50s. At what point did you start getting the sort of, you know, what became, you were part of that group of guitarists, the 60s, Brit blues legends, Jimmy Page, Peter Green. At what point did you start really getting your sort of antennae out to blues proper?
I would say just after, no, maybe just before I joined Neil Christian and the Crusaders, because I replaced Jimmy Page in that gig.
Yeah.
And I stayed with Christian for around about a couple of years, but there was a lot of stuff we did within that. You know, like one of the things we used to do What I Say. That was the opening number.
Right.
And instrumentals, we used to do Lucille, and we'd do like an instrumental Chuck Berry's Boogie, and all that kind of genre of stuff.
Yeah.
So there was blues in there, and then of course at 3:30 blues suddenly became something that I'd latched onto via Chuck Berry, and I thought, hey, this is really cool. And then via that, I then started listening to B.B. and Freddie King and people like that. And but also at the same time, I was listening to great country players like Chet Atkins and Jerry Reed, and Mel Travis and people like that. So again, that influence kind of washed in with me as well. Also listening to people like Tal Farlow, Herb Ellis, who I had the great privilege of playing with in 1989. That was, wow, man, incredible. And so all those kind of influences,
Jazz, country,
blues,
So when you met, you know this question was coming, when you met Ian Anderson, and you was hooked together in Luton, weren't you? You in Luton and that stuff. Jethro Tull was very big for 10 years. You were there for the first year and a half, 2 years. Was it a happy time for you?
Some of it, yeah. Not toward the end, not for me personally, and probably not for Ian.
But you did make it from that sort of, semi-pro status to suddenly being a name on the scene, which must have been very rewarding for you.
Yeah, because at the time when I actually joined Tull, I was playing with a band called McGregor's Engine, and we happened to be playing at opposite ends on these two stages at the Beachcomber discotheque in Skimpot, Luton. And then the break, our bass player told us that he was leaving, and 5 minutes after he'd walked out of the room and me and Clive were looking at each other, this guy came in and said, "We've heard you play, we really like you playing, we'd like you to join the band." And that was Ian Anderson and Glenn Cornick. And that then, after everything had been stripped away, their drummer went and Clive joined the band, and we became the four-piece Jethro Tull.
Now, when you left 18 months or so later, what was your idea with Blodwyn Pig? What was going to be different?
Well, the thing that I'd always wanted to continue was down the rock, jazz, blues route.
Yeah.
Whereas Ian's roots were slightly different. Ian knows the blues. He's great at doing what he does, But his roots are a little bit more leaning towards folk, whereas mine are not. I enjoy folk music immensely. I enjoy folk blues. And the way Ian writes was just something completely opposite to what I was writing. And for a certain while, I wasn't allowed to actually. I don't know whether I would say the word allowed, but it didn't seem like I was allowed to actually write anything with him anymore.
Right.
Now, whether that was a conscious decision on Ian's part, the management's part, or whatever,
I don't know. Hassles are beginning to
I've been one of these guys always. If I think something is really crappy or stinks, I'll say so. I don't know whether it's a case of mouth first and brain second. Maybe in those days it was, but I don't take shit. And some of what was going on there, I just personally didn't think was that cool. So I voiced my objections, and my objections were heard.
Right. When you moved into and set up Blodwyn Pig, that was the era of the Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Were you into all of that?
No. Guitar Hero, me? No.
The thing where you're in the club, people would sort of say, "Oh, he's better than."
Oh,
Al.
no, that's all nonsense. All this thing about he's better than. I know, and I frankly, it used to wash over me and still does.
Right.
Because it's cobblers, it's total nonsense. If people tend to judge you in terms of technique, then fine. If you're a soulful, heartful player, then I haven't got a problem with that. Because I've got tastes in different players, as we all have, and that's a different matter completely.
And of that whole group of the classic guitar heroes, Jimmy Page, Peter Green, Eric Clapton, all those names, which was the one that you related to in terms of playing style? Was that
Eric.
One? Right.
I always liked Eric's playing. I thought Eric had a real cool approach to the whole thing. His approach to blues and music in general is something that I admire greatly, and I still do. I think he's a wonderful player and a wonderful singer. There you go, Eric. I love you, mate.
The whole thing with Blodwyn Pig, again, that was right around the era when the blues clubs were at their peak, etc. Was it fun, or was it just horrible slog up the M1 in a crap comma van that's fallen to bits? Did you enjoy those days?
It was the latter, but it was the former. So yes, we were travelling up and down in shitty old vans and all the rest of it, but we were having a great time.
So you look back with great...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great laugh.
Yeah. And why did Blodwyn Pig sort of fall apart?
The bastard sacked me. There you go, there's a revelation for you. I got called one day when I came back from America, and
they sacked the founder?
Yeah, they sacked me, it's true. There you go, what an own-up. It's true, I've never denied it, but it's absolutely true, they sacked me. And then, it was really weird, I just got a phone call. Well, no, I phoned one of the members of the band and said, when are we rehearsing? And he said, well, we're not rehearsing. I said, well, we've got to rehearse, we've got gigs in 3 weeks' time. And then he said to me, no, he said, we've got gigs. I said, hang on, what's going on? So he said, well, we've all got together and we decided that we don't think you're taking the right direction for the band. And I went, but hang on, mate, it's my bloody band. And it was so laughable, I was gutted. But so what they'd had some business discussions, sneaking into it all again.
Right.
And what they did was
to do money shares again. Who was getting right.
Same old shit. and the worst part was there were two of them getting more bloody money than I was. So You know, and that's the truth of it, whether they like to admit it or not. I mean, no, there's no problems with it these days. I mean, we're all far too over the hill to worry about crap like that. But it was just strange. And 3 weeks later, they went out, as far as I remember, they went out with a guy called Pete Banks, guitar player from Yes, and a singer called Barry Reynolds, augmented it as a 5-piece. And I'm sorry, lads, but you died on your arse. And they did 5 gigs, died on their arse, and 4 weeks later I got a call from the same member of the band who related the bad news to me and said, Mick, we've had a rethink. And I said, yeah, so have I, Clegg.
And Blodwyn Pig, the name, was yours?
Yeah, it always was, yeah. And we reformed it. We reformed in 1974, just for a brief time to see if it would work.
But that was the last time the word was used, yeah? Since, in terms of your band?
In that time, yeah.
And then coming more recently?
More recently, we did it actually. Blodwyn Pig restarted again as a bit of a giggle. Somebody asked me if I would do a New Year's Eve gig, which I hadn't done in a long, long time, and I said, you know, yeah, okay. And they said, well, what sort of a band could you put together? And I was pissed at the time. And I said, I put Blodwyn Pig, mate. I'll put you that together. And they've gone, really? And I go, yeah, let's have another one, mate. Yeah. And next day I get the call. I said, you know, last night you said you put Blodwyn Pig on. I went, did I? They said, yeah. I said, okay, fine. So I did. I got Andy Pyle. I got Clive Bunker. I got Dick Hextall Smith, and I got Brucey Boardman playing keys, and another sax player called Bernie Hetherington who I played with years ago. And we did a gig at the local squash club. That was a great evening, it was a good laugh, you know, but it kind of perpetuated from that.
And it's still owned by you, so Blodwyn Pig could fly?
He could fly any time I choose it to, you know,
right.
And occasionally it does, you know.
Right.
Only thing, if we do Blodwyn Pig, we have to have a sax player, you see, because the Blods always had a sax player. In fact, I saw Jack in Scarborough. I was on holiday earlier on this year, and Jack Lancaster, he came over from LA, and he rang me and he said, hey, he said, I'm going to be in Britain at such and such a time. And I said, oh crap, I'm on holiday. He said, oh, where are you going? I said, I'm going up north. He said, oh, well, he said, I'm going up there because I'm visiting my old hometown. So I said, where's your old hometown? He said, Skinning Grove. I said, fucking me, that's about like 15 miles from Scarborough, which is where I'm staying. She said, you're staying there, man? I said, yeah. So he came and stayed at the hotel for the night, and we had a glass or two of vino, as one does, and had a good time. It's great. Jack's looking great. A bit craggy like me, but he ain't as fat as me, but there you go.
And what plans for the next year or so, now that you've got your health back?
Well, just keep on gigging and keep on trying. We're doing this DVD tonight, which should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to doing that, something for posterity. And generally just getting on and doing more of the same, really, making more albums, writing more songs, playing more gigs. Gently but nicely.
It's great to see you looking well, Mick.
Thanks, Jeff.
Have a great gig this evening.
Bless you, mate. Thank you very much
Thanks
indeed.
for your time.
Thank you.
Welcome to Graham Walker and John Gordon. I want to know, you've been together a fair few years now with Mick Abrams, and I'd just like to know, how did you meet this guy? What's your best memory? And if you dare, what's your worst memory? Graham, if you could kick off.
I met Mick through a mutual friend of ours, Andy Pyle, who played in Blodwyn Pig with Mick in the old days. And he introduced me to it. We actually did a gig together. And I think you just started playing again.
I had, yeah. It was 1988.
And it was great because I saw him, and I always remember Mick when I was in school with Jethro Tull and everything, and he got up and played, and it was that sound. He has a particular sound, you know, voice and the guitar. It sounded great. It was really good. So then we've sort of worked off and on ever since. And the worst memory was Mick dressed up in toilet roll in Germany. But we won't go into that.
Right, that's very cryptic. John, how did you meet Mick?
I met Mick because his bass player at the time, when I met him, was Jim Leverton. And through a sad occasion, it was the demise of Steve Marriott. And Jim, they had a gig that night, and Jim was very good friends with Steve. and Jim had to go off and make all sorts of arrangements. Steve had died that day, and I got a call asking if I could dep, and that was the first time I met Mick. So I had to turn up at the gig, learn about 40 numbers in about 3 minutes, and we didn't actually do that. We spent most of the time telling jokes anyway. Graham was on drums. That was the first time I met Mick. Enjoyed it immensely. Yeah, Dublin Castle, that's right. Yeah. This sounds like Spinal Tap interview.
And we did get lost outside in the car park, didn't we? When I get back in.
Best memory of working with Mick was that gig we did in Italy, in that little village.
Oh right, yeah.
Which I thought was heaven. It was like a beautiful balmy night. We played in the open outside this beautiful old sort of ruined monastery.
The drum kit was alright.
All the gear was a beautiful stage. The whole village came.
Perfect
and
night,
loved
wasn't
it. And it was wonderful, wasn't it? It was one of those things where you feel like you've gone to heaven straight away. Worst memory with Mick? Probably having to sit in his studio with him and share a small space with somebody that big and sweaty, I think.
That's a fair comment.
That's pretty
Right, you
mild.
bastards, give me the money back. Come on, that's enough.
Mick, Graham, John, have a great gig tonight. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Come on, I'm checking now. How much did you take?
I cut it in half.